Hey guys, so the video down below is from another content creator called Fallacious Films, and they recently put together a very funny video, which is basically the audio of Joe Biden telling his corn pop story in combination with a very crude animation slash typography. So I think I can regurgitate the story. I've listened to the video about 5 different times now. So from what I gather, basically Joe Biden was a lifeguard and he was working at a public pool, and there was this fella called Corn Pop who was on the diving board. I guess he wasn't jumping into the pool, which is, I guess, against pool rules or whatever. So Joe Biden, the lifeguard, tells him to get down from there, which then prompts this guy Corn Pop to pull out the straight razor. And I'm not really sure of the timeline of events here. I guess at some point Joe Biden calls this guy Corn Pop Esther, and this is obviously a way to insult him, to emasculate him in some ways. It's really unclear what happens next. So somewhere in between now and the end of the story, Joe Biden goes down to the maintenance office where the guy who's in charge of maintaining the pool with all the pool pumps or whatever, he says, oh, okay, so in order to take care of this guy, you have to use this chain and threaten him with it. So you say, oh, you're going to cut me, I'm going to wrap this around your head or neck or whatever. So Joe Biden gets the chain, he goes up there, and apparently it worked. Apparently this diffused the situation. So just a little helpful tip for those out there trying to diffuse a violent situation. Always threaten back with violence. That's always the best way to calm down the situation. I mean, just telling you the story, I feel like I'm going nuts just telling you guys the story, but it really is a pretty nutty story. So one thing that I'm really trying to figure out is, why did Joe Biden tell this story in the first place? Was it comic relief? Is this going to help him on the campaign trail? I don't know. The guy's crazy. And the moment that I realized that Joe Biden was crazy is when he was on stage at this union workers event, I think, and for some reason the union workers' kids went on stage with him, and he hugged a couple of them, and then he says to the audience, oh, don't worry guys, they gave me permission to hug him. It was very weird. It was very bad in terms of optics. I think Joe Biden was at least acknowledging some of the footage of him in the past, you know, the footage that you can find on Paul Joseph Watson's YouTube page. It's all over the internet at this point. Even the Washington Post was kind of joking about it. Half-heartedly, they were saying oh, what are we going to do about creepy Uncle Joe? But they weren't really talking about the real things that he's done on tape, which is just pretty awful, in my opinion. And I think it's enough to actually, disqualify him from being a viable nominee for the Democratic Party, which I don't think he's going to be. I think at this point it's going to be Elizabeth Warren or even Pete Buttigieg. Probably more likely it's going to be Pocahontas, just because she's been around for a long time. She's in her 70s, which means that she's been in politics pretty much a majority of her life. Pete Buttigieg is fairly new. I think he's only in his late 30s. So he's definitely running this year in preparation for a future run, as is Tulsi Gabbard and Andrew Yang. They're not going to be nominees for, by any means, but they're definitely going to try and run in the future. And here's the thing, I think that Trump actually really does want Joe Biden to be the nominee, because that's going to be a very easy matchup for him. Joe Biden has shot himself in the foot more times than he's been attacked. So, he's essentially been his worst enemy. And Trump, obviously, he's looking for an easy opponent. He wasn't really joking when he said, oh, Kirsten Gillibrand was definitely the candidate I was most afraid of, because she's young, she's articulate, and that's, admittedly, that's kind of a tough opponent for Trump. He does not have the ability to articulate. He goes with his gut, and he basically speaks his mind, which is very attractive to a lot of voters. That's what got him elected in the first place in 2016. But there are some people, I guess more, into that kind of thing, more well-spoken presidents or presidential candidates that would have preferred Kirsten Gillibrand to Trump. I don't know how big that demographic is, but definitely that's something that he was definitely concerned about. So on the flip side, if you get Joe Biden in there who's incoherent, who's basically bursting blood vessels in his eye, that's an easy matchup for Trump. And it really does beg the question, too. It's why is Joe Biden even running? a lot of people have said, oh, you know, he's running because he's been blackmailed by Hillary Clinton as part of a revenge scheme of 2018 when, you know, oh, Joe Biden, he backed Barack Obama back in 2008 rather than backing Hillary Clinton, which I think she's still pretty sour about. She probably thought that's what cost her the election back in 2008. I said 2018. I meant to say 2008. So definitely something to consider there, I guess. I don't know. I just don't think that Joe Biden should be running at this point. I think Trump wants him to, like I said. You know, he's really making the Democratic Party look bad because he is the front runner, and this is the best they can do. We all know who the actual front runner is. It's either one of three people. It's either Bernie Sanders, Tulsi Gabbard, or Andrew Yang. Those are the three most popular candidates in terms of organic support online. And you know, if you use the 4chan indicator, then you see more memes that are directed to Bernie Sanders, Andrew Yang, and Tulsi Gabbard, and most of the commentary regarding Biden, Warren, Buttigieg. You got a couple others in there, a couple of other, you know, no names essentially that are polling high, but they're not necessarily popular online. So, yeah, there's a lot going on here. And one thing I want to say before I end this. The creator down below, it says in the very first split second of the video, created by an angry Bernie supporter. It's like, I would be angry too, because the DNC objectively did screw over Bernie Sanders in 2016. This is coming from somebody who doesn't even like Bernie, but it's just there. I mean, the writing's on the wall. So of course they're going to be a little disheartened when they see Joe Biden as the front runner in all the polls. They're going to say that's not necessarily an accurate reflection of what Democratic voters really want, and it's absolutely correct. So Joe Biden's just going to continue to make a fool of himself. It's funny for people on the right. They think that, you know, oh, it's the Democratic clown car, you know, how the old meme goes. But for people on the left, they're saying, geez, DNC, like, you guys are going to just screw us over again like you did in 16. And sadly, yes, they probably are again. All right, guys, thank you so much for watching. God bless, and I'll see you later.